Hi friends, it's me, your girl Kristen Denise, also known as KD, here with day 18 of Black History Month. Thank you to everybody who has liked, commented, shared, saved the videos. I appreciate you more than words. We are going to now jump into our dynamic Black woman that we're going to talk about for day 18, who is none other than the illustrious Zora Neale Hurston. Now, if you're a reader, you probably know a little bit more about who Zora is. If you're not a reader, become a reader and get into it with me. Zora Neale Hurston was born in 1891 and she transitioned in 1960. She was an anthropologist, a folklorist, and a literary trailblazer. She was a groundbreaking author, anthropologist, folklorist, and filmmaker whose work captured the richness of Black life and culture in the early 20th century. She was a central figure in the Harlem Renaissance, and she is best known for her novel, Their Eyes Were Watching God, which she published in 1937, but her influence extends far beyond literature. Her anthropological research, storytelling, and advocacy for Black folk traditions made her one of the most important voices in African American history specifically, though she was often overlooked during her lifetime. She used her skills as a scholar and a storyteller to document Black culture, spirituality, and dialect in the ways that help shape literature and anthropology even today. Her life teaches us the importance of telling our own stories. That's a part of why I'm doing what I'm doing. Preserving culture and refusing to conform to society's expectations. Let's get into it. So some of her key accomplishments is she was absolutely a literary giant and a Harlem Renaissance icon. She was one of the most influential writers of the Harlem Renaissance, creating literature that celebrated Black life, Black joy, and Black storytelling. Her major works were Their Eyes Were Watching God, as I previously mentioned, in 1937, which was a groundbreaking novel about Black womanhood, love, and self-discovery through the journey of Janie Crawford. She wrote Jonah's Gourd Vine in 1934, a semi-autobiographical novel about a charismatic preacher's rise and fall. Mules and Men in 1935, a book collecting African-American folklore from the rural South, and Dust Tracks on a Road in 1942, her autobiography reflecting on her life struggles and successes. Her work was revolutionary because, unlike other Harlem Renaissance writers who focused on racial oppression, Hurston celebrated Black life in all of its complexity, joy, language, culture, and resilience. She wrote fully realized Black female characters at a time when Black women's voices were often ignored, and she challenged stereotypes by showing Black people outside of trauma narratives. Now, hear me out. Trauma narratives are significant, are important, and they're real, but that is not all that there is for Black people. And that was something that was just rarely done in the early 20th century literature, and it's honestly still rarely done if you really think about it. She was an anthropologist and a preserver of Black folklore. She was one of the first Black women anthropologists studying at Barnard College, now Columbia University, under the renowned anthropologist Franz Boas. She traveled across the rural South, the Caribbean, and Haiti, documenting Black stories, songs, superstitions, and traditions. She conducted groundbreaking research on African spiritual practices, including hoodoo and voodoo, and she published Tell My Horse in 1938, detailing her experiences studying Haitian voodoo and Jamaican spiritual practices. Now, this matters because before Hurston, many scholars ignored or misrepresented Black folklore. She preserved oral traditions and cultural history that might have otherwise been lost, and she challenged the Eurocentric view of anthropology and proved that Black culture was worthy of serious study. Hello? She was also an early Black filmmaker, which was new to me. I didn't actually know this about her, using film to document Black life in the 1930s. Her films made sure to capture Black Southern life, everyday rituals, and traditions. She was one of the first visual anthropologists showing authentic representations of Black communities, and these films are now preserved as a part of the historical records of early 20th century Black life. How dope is that? And she was a bold and unapologetic Black woman in a male-dominated world. She refused to bow to expectations, whether from white America or from within the Black literary community. She absolutely rejected respectability politics, and I love that. Many Black intellectuals wanted literature that focused on racism and activism, but Hurston wrote about Black love, joy, and rural life instead. She was criticized by some of her peers, like Richard Wright, who felt her work didn't focus enough on social injustice. She was politically independent. She didn't align with the civil rights movement in the ways that many people expected her to, and she challenged Black leaders and white liberals, refusing to fit into anyone's agenda. Okay. And she also refused to be limited by gender norms. She often wore very bright clothing and carried herself with confidence. If you know me, you know that's my kind of girl. She traveled alone as a black woman in the Jim Crow South, collecting stories and experiences, and she created female characters who were strong, independent, and complex, just like she was. Unfortunately, she did struggle later in life despite her brilliance. Many of her books at one point went out of print, and she unfortunately had to work as a maid in her final years of life to survive. She died in poverty in 1960 and was buried in an unmarked grave in Florida. But her work was rediscovered in the 1970s, largely thanks to Alice Walker, and who went on ahead to find her grave and to bring honor to all of the work and the things that she did to honor Black history and culture. And she brought her writing back into the spotlight. So what are some things we can learn from Zora Neale Hurston today? Tell your own story, even if others don't understand it. Hurston refused to write for white approval or fit anyone's expectations. She told Black stories her way. Why? Because your voice, your experiences, and your culture are worthy of being celebrated. And we can apply this today by writing, documenting, and sharing our community stories, and which is one of the reasons why I kind of love social media, because that's our opportunity to do so in a very public format. And don't be afraid to create things that go against the norm. Who cares what the norm is? Make sure we preserve Black history and culture. Houston worked tirelessly to document Black folklore, traditions, and language so they wouldn't be lost. The lesson in this is if we don't tell our own history, it will be erased or rewritten, both of which would be terrible. We can apply this today by supporting Black historians, writers, and artists. Learn about African and African American traditions beyond what is taught in school, because we know not much is taught in most schools, and pass down our own family stories, cultural traditions, and community history. I don't know why these words are giving me such issue right now. Be bold, even when it's unpopular. Hurston refused to play by society's rules. She challenged both white and Black institutions, which sometimes left her isolated, but she stayed true to herself. The lesson in this is speak up for what you believe in, even if it makes other people uncomfortable. And we can apply this today by not being afraid to challenge dominant narratives, whether in our careers, community, or our creative works. And we can stand firm in our beliefs, even when society pressures us to conform. Finally, Black joy and beauty matter. Hurston's writing celebrated Black life, focusing on joy, love, humor, and resilience, not just struggle. Our history is not just about pain. It's also about love and art and strength and creativity and thriving and brilliance. And we can make space for Black joy and creativity in our everyday life and support stories, movies, music, and art that celebrate Black culture and beauty, because we deserve. Some final thoughts. Zora Neale Hurston was ahead of her time. A bold, brilliant Black woman who refused to be silenced. She wrote, studied, and documented Black life with love and authenticity, even when it was unpopular. Her legacy reminds us to tell our own stories unapologetically, celebrate Black culture, past and present, challenge narratives that erase or limit us, and embrace our identities and talents without fear. As Hurston herself said, "I do not weep at the world. I am too busy sharpening my oyster knife." Get about the business of living, okay? Get about the business of creating joy, of documenting joy, and of celebrating joy. Again, it's one of the most powerful things we can use social media to do is share this Black joy and resilience and love and authenticity and support. And so remember this as you go about your daily life. I'm excited. If you're in Detroit, go to the Detroit Institute of Art and check out 7 Mile in Livernois by a beautiful Black woman artist. I'm going to check it out this week. That is my commitment to myself for celebrating Black culture and Black life in a Black city. Thank you, Detroit, for all that you give. But make sure you do that in your world too. What does it look like to celebrate the artists that are out there and what they're doing? And what does it look like to add to that conversation with your own celebrations of Black joy, Black beauty, and Black brilliance in a world that's trying to limit what that looks like, especially right now as they're trying to crush all of this, the Black legacy. Honestly, they're trying to minimize Black legacy and all of the ways in which we have contributed to the United States, being able to be what it is from a beautiful and powerful perspective. We're going to set the world on fire. We're going to tell the stories. We're going to celebrate the beauty. And I'm excited that we have a model in Zora Neale Hurston and what it looks like to do as such. So now remember, do what you need to do to be more than okay, because you deserve to be more than okay, and put some Black beauty in your more than okay. And absolutely do what you need to do to live a life you love, because you deserve to live a life you love and to celebrate that life fully. I love you. Make it a good one. Mwah.